It's time for the Social Show with Viwe Tyolwana.
Social Show?
Social Show.
A very warm welcome to the Social Show. My name is Viwe Tyolwana, and for the next 30 minutes, we're going to be talking all things CSI, CSR, and shared value. Of course, if you are new to the show, you have to know what we do, which is we give you the latest news in corporate social responsibility, corporate social initiatives, corporate social anything, actually, everything that has to do with the development of our country. But more than that, the kind of things that we are working towards accomplishing, particularly within Vision 2030, within our NDP goals, within SDG. I definitely think that this is a space that definitely needs a little bit more investigation, a little more interrogation, and that's what we aim to do. If you have any scoops, any stories, please send us a tweet or a message on press@social-tv or on brandlive.co.za on our social mediums, and I will definitely do my best to read them out and share with you with the relevant thought leaders in that space how to really go about it. I think everybody's really trying to get into the social space, and I do think that we need to sort of have these conversations, especially if we're trying to grow the industry, try to make it a little bit more accountable to itself, right? Anyway, we're going to go straight into the news, and then after that, we'll get into the bulk of what today's show is about.
CSI Update.
A collective of academics and practitioners has launched a new initiative that will document and capture key learnings from the 2017-2018 Cape Town water crisis that came close to being a catastrophe for the city. In November of 2017, with dam levels at just 38.4%, the city of Cape Town officially adopted the concept of Day Zero, the day when the taps would run dry and the citizens would be rationed to collecting 25 litres of water per person per day. In January 2018, Day Zero was pegged to 22 April that same year. The CTDRLI is a collaboration between UCT, African Climate and Development Initiative, Conversations That Count, and Sign South Studios, and enjoys active support from the City of Cape Town's Director of Resilience. The film library is the first phase of the initiative, a free online resource. The library will sort of eventually feature 45 high-quality, in-depth interviews with a range of key societal factors across a number of sectors who are intimately involved in the drought response. Each video is summarized and indexed with for easy researching and searching. In other news, Danone has opened a new nutrition production facility in the Netherlands to meet growing global demand for specialized infant formula. The official ceremony held this week marked the completion of a 3-year journey to build a state-of-the-art, energy-efficient, zero-waste plant. The facility will primarily produce specialized infant formula that meets the needs of infants diagnosed with specific medical conditions, such as cow's milk protein allergy, as well as a standard infant formula. The new Nutritia plant has been built to spec to further support the expansion of Danone's range of specialized infant formula products, specially tailored for babies with specific health needs. The global prevalence of allergy, for example, is steadily rising, and approximately 2 to 5% of infants develop cow's milk protein allergy within the first year of life. The plant employs a specific manufacturing process to produce foods for special medical purposes containing extensively hydrolyzed protein to meet the specific nutritional need of infants diagnosed with this type of allergy. And lastly, through the Mentero Foundation, Coca-Cola Beverages South Africa will invest 25 million in the Haya Matla Organics, a black-owned startup that turns water hyacinth into commercial products such as fertilizer and animal feed. The water hyacinth is an invasive plant that grows in polluted waters and further compromises water quality. The Monteiro Foundation is CCBSA's vehicle for supporting the development of historically disadvantaged emerging farmers and small suppliers of inputs into the CCBSA value chain. The foundation's executive manager, Noxolo Kahlana, said Hayamatla's organics caught the foundation's eye because of its business model, which is to remove waste from catchment areas and to preserve water. And that concludes our news for today.
Podcasting, the practice of using the internet to make digital recordings of broadcasts available for downloading to a computer or mobile device. Or, as they say in South Africa, a fantastic way to tell a good story or to bring your brand to life. To find out more on how podcasting can change your brand, speak to us at brandlive.co.za. brandlive.co.za. We bring your brand to life.
You're back on the social show, and as I said before, if you have any questions or any queries, please send me an email at press@social-tv.co.za, and I'll do my best to tend to them. I've been actually thinking about this past 3 months in CSI, and I thought it would be quite interesting to kind of give you an update as to what's happened in the first quarter of the year. So we're kind of wrapping up, the first quarter, as I said, and I must say, it's been particularly interesting to see the kind of good that has been coming out of SA recently, to see where companies are really strategically putting themselves, because I do think the beginning of the year can either come off slowly or come on really fast. And I must say, I've seen a lot of thoughtfulness in not only the partnerships and the collaborations, but also in how the government has really been dealing with the issues that society at large has been dealing with. In fact, I'm not even sure if it's just because of its election year or it's a little bit more a political year. But a lot of things have been coming into the forefront that, we kind of saw in the background last year. And it would be remiss of me not to speak about the recent burden that has been kind of lifted or has been looked into being lifted for students recently. With all of the bailouts happening from Eskom all the way to, SAA, it'd be remiss of me not to speak about the massive historical debt that seeks to be, worked on and relieved by the NYDA as well as Minister Naledi Pandor. Now, I wonder what kind of thoughts came into your head that all of a sudden, out of, I don't know what, or out of whatever... pockets have been, searched. We've kind of seen this money come out of thin air, I think. For years, the government has been telling us there is absolutely no money to bail out or to actually help out the number of students who are still paying back their NSFAS, or the NSFAS issue, has been quite huge if you think about fees must fall and all of that. But almost 1 billion has been set aside, apparently, to help alleviate the pressure that this specific burden has had on so many school children. And a few questions have come to my mind as to, first of all, what has Corporate South Africa done to be part of this specific initiative? Have they come to the forefront? Have they come and pledged what they can pledge? Has it been a collaboration between specific private individuals and the government, or is it just government alone? There's a lot of things that have not really been made clear as to how this alleviation is going to happen. But I do think it's definitely going to put a stop, or rather slow down all of the different protests that have been happening in regards to Fees Must Fall. Of course, Fees Must Fall is still alive, still an amazing movement, still a movement that needs a lot of backing from Corporate South Africa, and one which I think has been a difficult one for a lot of companies, because they do feel as though they've been doing their very best in terms of scholarships, in terms of internships, in terms of really just trying to get people into the school space. But at the same time, it's very difficult to sort of give a school child a bursary, which is something we've been seeing, particularly in the beginning of the year, obviously, because people are going back to school, to give someone a bursary if they can't really go to school because it's protests, right? It's sort of like counter contradictory and I mean counterproductive, sorry. So the important thing would be to sort of stabilize the school space first, and then your bursary can go into the much needed hands, the much needed minds that need it. So I wonder how many corporates have really gotten into really trying to alleviate this burden. It's very important that we do interrogate how financial aid is then going to be carried out into this country further, because we don't want to repeat our mistakes. What kind of research is going into that? Where the money is coming from again, and what else we can take away from this for the future and for kids in the future. We also need to be cognizant of how many young people and young families are still struggling to get into the tertiary system, and how many of them are going to be, less under less pressure because of this specific announcement. I know a lot of people, it's a breath of fresh air, but what does it actually mean? Does it mean that this is going to be for these specific kids, but what happens to kids in the future, etc., etc.? I've got so many questions, and I want to know from you what you would expect, Corporate South Africa to do to sort of help the future, not sort of, rather the past not to play again into the future, and also to make sure that if there are scholarships in hand, that you are actually introducing and putting more children into schools and into universities that are stable and that won't compromise the sort of scholarship that you're giving them. And a lot of it comes out of really trying to alleviate the pressure of kids paying to go to school, and Fees Must Fall is still alive and kicking, and it's something that I think corporate South Africa, is trying to deal with in a more academic way. But I do think that if we look at the ground and we look at at bailouts, and we're looking at real big money being given to these specific institutions that support and bring about financial aid, there'd be some sort of difference. But look, I think there's a lot to be said. And again, election season, a lot of things are happening in the government. A lot of, ANC is really pulling out all the stops, or really trying to. We've seen, the Eskom thing, as I said before, is really the Prasa thing. We've seen a lot of movement in these really big sectors that have been really struggling for a few years. And I wonder what it means for CSI, corporates, and how they intend to give to those specific spaces. Again, if you have any conversation points, or you want me to really elaborate a little bit more about this, or get people onto the platform, please do so, and let me know who you think can really speak about the CSI responsibility in the space on our platforms, as I said before. Another exciting initiative that took place almost 5 years, to really come together is this beautiful, beautiful collaboration between SASFIN and the Hello Group. Now, this merger has allowed for the birth of the first digital bank in South Africa, and it launched quite early this year, and I was there to really find out the intricacies of the launch and what it actually meant for South African SMMEs, and what it meant for South Africa in general and Africa at large, right? We are moving into the digital space. It's something that's been sort of ingrained in us, all over the news, all over our education system, all over, even from a startup perspective. If you think about fintech and where it's going and how it's been moving, you'll find that digitizing almost every single aspect of our lives is one of the most important things. So last year, SASFIN announced its ambition to sort of deliver new products and services through their partnering, acquiring or developing tech solutions that sort of offer valuable services to customers. And this is a significant step in SASFIN's journey, given the kind of bank it is and the history it has, to sort of like serve new markets through collaborating with tech-centered and customer-centric focused businesses. Another bank that's doing that is Nedbank. I know that they're really trying this new youth conversation, sort of trying to get young people into the conversation of banking and really trying to make it more customer-centric and tech-centered, which is what SASFIN is doing. And as a part of the Hello Group, Hello Paisa was the first company to be authorized as an independent money transfer operator in South Africa. It has successfully delivered in the international remittance world, and is now recognized the importance of extending banking services to underserved communities. It's backed by the banking capabilities of SASFIN, and the offering is sort of banking reimagined, a bank designed for everyday individuals who know what matters the most to them and their families. Oh my word, I sound like an advert. But I think this is a beautiful collaboration, only because I have really been watching Hello Group, and I mean, they've been around for a while. They've had their, grip on the SMME, especially in formal sectors, on how they sort of save and how they work with their money. And I think it's been an important sort of space where I've seen a lot of growth for those kind of informal sectors who in real if you're talking about real talk, they don't really get the eye of the bigger banks, the FNBs, your standard banks. I'm not saying they don't have those kind of systems in place, but I do think they need more formal things to sort of get your business moving, where I do think, Hello Group has really tried to really serve the informal space a little bit more. And it was quite interesting speaking to the CEO of the Hello Group and Hello Paisa about the kind of work that they've done with SIM cards, the kind of work that they've done. I know if you guys remember the Hello Group from back in the day, they had the SIM card. They're one of the first independent SIM cards to work. To come out of South Africa. But yeah, their digital banking offers a number of things, including an intuitive mobile app, mobile SIM card, bank account, a debit card, and that sort of operates at any ATM and POS service. And it's very difficult for people to really trust new banks. And it's true, it makes sense. But look, if we are going to the digital space, you have to start really looking at who's really leading and who's leading with a social impact perspective. And I think Hello Paisa is just based on the ecosystem, based on the kind of work that they've done in the informal space. I can say they are really not only game changing, but they really are being driven by what I think is really the right sort of thing, the right heart, the right sort of work. What I found out about them at the launch is that, number one, they have never really implemented a strategy they haven't asked about. So before they implemented the digital bank, they went to the informal sectors, they went to the spaza shops, they went to all of these kind of shops that are around that you kind of make a lot of money, and you kind of wonder what kind of happens to that lady and that guy who are selling, whether it be food, whether it be SIM cards, whether it be whatever it is, what kind of happens to their money and the exchange of money. And they kind of really went to them and asked them what would work the best for you, what would work the best for you in terms of knowing how much money you have, what would work the best for you in terms of buying from suppliers. If you are buying from a huge manufacturer, what would work better for you? Because it probably isn't safe to have your money under a mattress or under a stool or in a little lockable chain. I mean, this is Johannesburg. This is the world. This is South Africa. You can't just have your money all ways. And I think this is one of the ways in which they can keep their money safe in a very cool and a very intuitive and easy way, right? And also what I really found quite interesting about this specific bank is that they're really trying to cross boundaries financially. If you think about Africa, and I mean, Hello Group has been doing that for years, trying to make sure that if you are in South Africa or anywhere else in the world actually, and you really want to send money back to your hometown in Africa, that's easier, and it's made easier through digital banking. So they've always been in that space. They've always really tried to connect communities without the necessary money that comes out of you trying to send that money through a normal bank, right? Because there's so many charges and so many things that go into that. So they've really been in that space. So I really want to know if you feel as though if you are in the fintech space specifically, if you are in the fintech space and you are interested in social entrepreneurship, is this a space that has allowed you to evolve? Have you been able to really knock on doors in the banking spaces to get these kinds of collaborations? Because I do think that not only do they have a great history as Hello Group, but I do think that you need that bank, that big bank, that African bank, that FNB to hold you down if you are trying to work with informal settlements, informal SMMEs, and if you're really trying to get into that space as a startup fintech that's into social entrepreneurship. But that's something that I'm just going to pose. And if you have, again, any insight, let me know. I'm going to end off the show with my last update, which is another really amazing collaboration between Philips and the Heart and Stroke Foundation. I don't know if you guys know that more South Africans die from cardiovascular diseases than any type of sort of cancer or illness around. I also don't know if you know that we don't know our CPR as a country. I don't think people really know how to deal with heart issues as a country. So the Philips Foundation, Philips South Africa Commercial, which is a corporate as well, and the Heart and Stroke Foundation South Africa are collaborating to launch Back to Rhythm, which is an exciting educational campaign aimed at creating awareness around cardiac health. In South Africa, 5 people suffer a heart attack every single hour. So after the show, when you've had your cup of tea, somebody would have died because of a heart attack. And this is something that I think we don't think about, because we're like, look, if you're going to have a heart attack, it's probably because you did it on you weren't eating right, you weren't healthy enough. But look, if you think about the disparities and you think about the disadvantaged communities that we are in, and if you think about just statistics around the kind of food and the kind of lifestyles people who live in specific areas are accustomed to, you cannot blame it on them, right? And again, it's not something that has to do with your background. Anyone, as healthy as you are, even if you aren't, can suffer from a heart attack. The question is, are we prepared? And that's what I think Philips Foundation, Philips Commercial, as well as Heart and Stroke Foundation was trying to do. So they came together. They had the Back to Rhythm campaign, which saw a number of people come together at specific places all around the country to cycle. And if a specific goal was met, they were going to give out an AED machine. Now, an AED machine is a machine that, I don't know if you watched the movies, you probably have, or if you watch Grey's Anatomy or whatever, where they have this machine and they put in the body, and the body sort of comes back to life, or it's sort of like an iron, but like that has like electricity. Look, I don't really know the intricacies of it, but I know that you need it. And what they've done is that they have come up with this amazing initiative. It's been happening all over the country, from Kenya to Egypt, and now it's in South Africa. And they're going to be giving around 25 AEDs to specific NGOs as allocated by HSFSA, which is the Heart and Stroke Foundation, which I think is fantastic, because not only are you getting people involved by cycling, but you're also teaching them about CPR, you're teaching them about cardiac health, and you're giving them something back to say, look, you learned, you got your information, you came to cycle, we're going to give you guys an AED machine. And I think it's amazing. I think it's an amazing initiative, and I think it's something that speaks to, the health, and how corporate South Africa has come to aid in places where, the government and other spaces haven't been able to. And that's what the show is about. If you don't know what the show is about, it really is just about making sure that we fill in where we can as CSI, as corporates in this country, whether it be in health, whether it be in the financial sector, and whether it be in education, whatever it is that you find important, whatever it is that you find really lacking in the gaps, because remember, we're all humans, we all have specific backgrounds, we all know what's actually happening in our communities. And I think if we do our best, government does its best, civil society as well as corporates do their best, we can all really live in a better country. And that concludes my show for today. It's been an amazing 30 minutes with you. If you have any questions, again, press the social-tv, social-tv.co.za. All of the stories I've mentioned are on the platform. So if you want to hear from the CEO of Philips Foundation and everybody else, go to social-tv.co.za. It's been an amazing show. I'll be back again soon. So you better watch out, and you better make sure that you check out, you subscribe, and you make sure that you listen and you learn. Until next time, Viwe Tyolwana, Social TV.
Guess who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za